Right, we're good now. Okay, I'll do the introduction.
Okay.
We have a best of 5 A rank show match today. It's gonna be on Tundra. The two players will be Dreamer, Ash Dreamer, and Alm.
Yeah, being from IRK myself, I should probably introduce myself. I'm Gometas, IRK Gometas. And being from IRK myself, I have played games with both Dreamer and Om. And I can say both are incredible players. And they have, for example, Dreamer. Dreamer has been here for a while since IC Cup days, and Om recently showed insane progression. So he has improved tremendously over the past 2 years, I'd say. And to see them playing on Tundra, I believe it's going to be a very beautiful game one.
Have you played on this map before?
Yeah, it was in Broomswork Clan League, I believe, in the map pool. And it's one of the weirder ones, but still not the Inner Coven or
Yeah.
Plasma like. Yeah, it's still standard enough to be considered like a reasonably normal map. We can see that Olm is. Wait, never mind. Yeah, Olm is getting his infrastructure on the low ground, which might suggest he wants to do a rack expand. And Dreamer is currently doing a proxy gate, probably 2 zealots into core build, which is very, very standard if you do not count. Well, it's not the golden standard like you would expect the one gate in main, gas, hypercore, and then
yeah.
a reasonably fast expansion. But this build has a bit more volatility. It can put up a bit of pressure, and it can defend from barracks before supply depot cheese because, well, it makes zealots, which are a beautiful counter to that. And as expected, Alm is putting down a command center at his natural before he gets a gas. He's gonna be a Rex expand, and he does not want to make a Marine. And Dreamer sees an opportunity. He throws down a pylon to block a wall, so he could sneak his Zealot in, and Zealot is on the way to the natural, almost there. And it's gonna be here about the time when first Marine finishes, and the bunker is up, which is gonna be better than nothing against Zealot pressure. If Marine was made before the CC was started, I believe it would been able to counter it better because he would have more Marines, and he probably would have snapped the probe before it placed a pylon over here. But the pressure has begun, and one zealot has made it into the main, and the second zealot is putting up pressure at the national. It's gonna get cleaned up, but as we can see, zealot has 4 kills. All of them were SCVs, which are definitely reasonable, reasonably big damage, I'd say, to the turn. Because the timings are gonna be late, his gas is gonna be late, it forced a lot of lost mining time. And we can see that Ash Dreamer is getting his Goon Rage, which is gonna continue the pressure. And Zealot is constantly roaming in the mid base. A bit sloppy to lose it. I believe it would have been better to keep it alive, running around to see for the vision. Goon is right up at the natural. It's gonna start the pressure, restart the pressure, I'd say. But the quantity of Marine should be able to fend it off for a while, and I believe a second bunker is gonna be starting, so it can save supply depots. And I believe this ramp is a high ground, which is gonna prevent the Goon pressure going out of hand. And as the bunker finishes, Goon pressure is gonna be over. It's concluded. It's not gonna be able to do anything, and I believe Dreamer is gonna want to expand. He's sending a probe down to his nexus, and he's also getting a shuttle, which I didn't notice previously, but it is probably to try and bulldog or elevator troops into Olm's main. Olm is getting a engineering bay because he does not know if DTs are present, but it's gonna counter shadow play as well if he makes a reasonable amount of turrets. As we can see, Siege Tank is not even close to being started, and 3 goons are gonna be hitting Olm's bunker for at least 1 minute, which is gonna cost some mining time and some minerals. We can see a Reaver being started as well. It's gonna probably not be used for harass because Olm is respecting the possible presence of Reavers and is building turrets accordingly. And the bunker got busted. He has 1 more bunker to fall back to, and the first siege tank is done. Dreamer might jump on top of the siege tank if Olm is not careful enough, but Olm was waiting for siege mode to finish, so the Goon pressure has been shut down for the entirety of the game, because unless you can pick off those siege tanks, your goons are not going to be trading effectively. We can see that the turret placement is gonna prevent the siege tank from getting open hits if Dreamer had zealots, but Dreamer uses his Reaver to destroy both of the siege tanks, which probably could have been negated if Olm made just 1 single turret more. He skipped on 1 extra turret at the front of the natural, and he paid the price for it. So, he's rebuilding. Well, he's building the turrets, and he cancelled it because he needs the minerals to probably get his upgrades. Or yeah, he started +1, and it is ship weapons.
Oh.
Why in the hell is on getting ship weapons? I do not know. He might be transitioning into raids, which is a very risky, very niche play.
Is early battle cruisers ever an option?
Usually it's not, because raids, not only do they build more quickly, they also have the ability to harass and to cloak.
Yeah.
Which forces out observers, which cost additional gas, so they're not as bad in PvT. And or TVP rather. But most Protoss fleet units have starting air armor, which tremendously lowers the DPS of Valkyries. That's why it's almost never seen, unless you want to do the carrier and you want to force a carrier interceptor bug, which causes all of the interceptors to go back to the main ship. But usually you're not even gonna see Valkyries used for that. Because the investment is big, the reward is not. On the Protoss side of the map, we can see he took a third base.
Is that early
which I like to
expansion?
see. It's not really early. You can see thirds being taken at the 5th minute, and it's not even gonna be considered late if you have the observer vision, which Dreamer does not because of the amounts of turrets placed by Ohm. But the investment for the turret string was big as well, so it kind of evens out. As we can see, Ohm is gonna try to expand from 3 factories, which should present a force on the map to pressure, but now more than ever, turns have been staying on 2 bases for as long as possible, not doing the 5th fact +1 pushes, but like getting sufficient upgrades for 2-1 and expanding afterwards, because Protoss can depends on the build, but Protoss can certainly force cancels if you try to expand on less than 3 factories. It used to be a standard on Fighting Spirit to expand on 1 or 2 factories, which does not suit that well in other maps because the chokes are wider and the Terran's army is not as good at trading. Because the easier it is to get to it, the easier it is to kill it. That's why turns have been forced to delay their thirds. But it's still an early enough third, and I would like to see a fourth from Dreamer. I'm not sure how strong is Dreamer's PvT, I just know mine is garbage. Yeah.
I think Dreamer's PvT is actually really good because that's, and especially I've casted him, he's the person I've casted the most of, because this is Team Think Quick that we're casting, and he has done a lot with Team Think Quick, and this is the only matchup he's really I've only casted him, because he doesn't really play PvZ, and he's played it a lot, so he's gotten a lot better at it too.
Yeah, Dreamer. The only thing I know about Dreamer is that he's hella good at PvP. Since I've played against him quite a few times, and I know that he wrecks me 9 out of 10 times. That kind of says a lot about his PvP. And about his PvT, he certainly looks solid. But anyone can look solid in PvT and lose their entire army by doing one bad engage. So you never know until you see the end of the game. But up until now, we've seen Dreamer's micro. He never overextended, besides maybe this time. He kind of refuses to have observers in place, just like I do. And he loses his entire Zealot army, Zealot part of the army, to a few mines because of the same reasons I do. So I guess Dreamer possibly faces the same issues in PvT that I do. So I guess we can conclude from that the turn is Zimba and should be deleted from the game. Yeah. Uh,
Terran is my
but
least favorite too.
well, I would like Terran a lot more if I was a bit better at PvT than I am currently. But yeah, that kind of uh, displays different aspects of the game because PvT is vastly different from, let's say, PvZ, and you have to be
Yeah.
better at different aspects of the game. And uh, I just know that I'm not that good at expanding, and that's why I suffer in PvT and sometimes PvP. But yeah, as a person who does not expand that much, I'd like to see Dreamer take an additional base because he's been matching. Well, he got a fourth base, but I'm pretty sure Alm is gonna be capable of taking his fourth very very soon.
He was
And
just
sure, you
trying
have
to.
to yeah. And yeah, Dreamer is trying to take his fifth. He's not rushing it, which I think is good because he's gonna be uh, trying to build up an Arbiter fleet. Yeah, he just had an Arbiter start, and his map control is not that bad. He has a couple of observers. He sees if the turn wants to move out. I'm sure he doesn't think that he has sufficient map control because the only thing he sees currently is a few siege tanks, and no way in hell is this the entire army of Ulm. And some vulture harassment happening at the army of Dreamer, picking off some High Templars, and possibly wasting a few storms. Which is gonna be good value considering most of the vultures probably had laid down the mines already and were ready to be replaced by other vultures with more mines. And one more High Templar pick off, very nice to see from Alm. And here we can see that Olm is taking his fourth, and he has a reasonable amount of factories to do so. He presents a good enough force on the map. He might be moving out soon once he gets his 2-1 upgrades, which are finishing very, very quickly. And as we do not see any fighting ships such as the Race, I begin to believe that the initial ship weapon upgrade was a mistake and was cancelled consequently. And that may have been the reason why +2 attack was late. But it was not late enough for his army to be considered obsolete. It's still very strong, even though the power spike has been delayed by a minute or so. It's still gonna be a very threatening army once it maxes out. And as this is very, very close to standard PvT, with considering the unit compositions and the openings, we can probably expect a maxed out Terran pushing out in a minute or so, or at least close to maxed out Terran pushing out in a minute or two, or a Protoss engaging once he maxes out to try and trade, so you wouldn't have to get that many additional gateways. And since the space on this map that you have in your main is not very, very wide, you are kind of restricted on your gateway count. You can only get like 20 in your main and 20 in your additional main. it's not going to be the case on this map, so you have to trade accordingly. You cannot do what Protoss usually does, which is max out, get an additional main, and get additional 20 gateways. So if you ever trade, you're gonna lose the fight, but you're gonna be the one who maxes first. And as we can see, Turn has been sieged and is moving out at 180 supply. He might be waiting for an additional round of Goliaths so he can poke the Arbiters a bit more, so the stasis would be a bit harder to cast. But he's moving out right now, and he has some of the high ground. He casts an EMP, and it connects. He trades reasonably well, and he's moving to the 4th of Dreamer, which might let Dreamer to set up a flank. A reasonably good stasis, not that like game ending, but the storms are good and the tanks are clumped. Only 3 tanks are actively shooting right now, which would mean that Dreamer's reinforcements are gonna clean that up, and as Dreamer has additional, I believe Dreamer has a bit more production facilities than Alm does. He's gonna be able to remax quicker, and he's gonna be able to take an additional fight.
I'm not actually sure if that is actually high ground, because whenever at the beginning we were looking at the bunker, the Dragoons attacking the bunker, and I was like checking the vision, like they could see everything. So I don't know if that's high ground or not. It might be similar to the Neo Sylphid map where it looks like high ground, it isn't.
I believe it's the custom-made ramps. In map editor, the ramps that you make are you only have several options. So you only have several direction pointing ramps, so you have to create your own ones, which results in ramps that have both low ground and high ground. So Dreamer possibly had good enough positioning, and he was able to put up the pressure, and the GG is called from all. He was not able to recover from the massive fight. Dreamer just remaxed too quickly and was able to counterattack accordingly. So that's a game 1.
Alright. Alright, the next one is up.
Okay, so we can go probably, right?
Yeah. Alright.
Game 2 of the series of Om versus Dreamer. So the positions are different now. Om is in his favorite magenta color, and Dreamer in the top left side of the map. Om is on the top right. So last game we saw a very standard PvT, though the kind of PvT you could expect if you saw 1,000 games and you took the most common one. Surely the opening was not the most standard, but it is still considered standard because it does not give you the opportunities as cheese does, and it does not give you the economy that 12 Nexus would. So it's still considered a standard opening. It's just a bit towards the aggression side. And with the pylon in the main base, I believe you're gonna be seeing an even more standard opening right now. So we see a single gate, and unless we see some stupid 2-gate in base shenanigans that would only be seen in lower ranks in 2017 or so. Yeah, they're not going to be seeing that. Yeah. But it's not 2017, the E-rankers have improved. They can put up a decent fight. And Olm is respecting the pressure a bit more. He's gonna take a gas. He's gonna make a factory before his natural, which is even safer than Rax Expand. Usually the Rax Expand is also very good, but like even against the build that Dreamer did last time, but what Rax Expand cannot deal with is 12 Nexus. Because your pressure is gonna be fast enough, you're still gonna be able to pressure the Rax Expand, and you're gonna be able to get away with the greedy economic advantage. You're gonna have more probes and a better economy than the Terran, and you're also gonna have 2 Zealots and 2 Dragoons going towards his natural as his bunker is gonna finish. So that's the build that made Flash invent a new one, which was a factory expand. So nowadays, the factory expand is the most common and the safest build of all builds. It can pose a threat to a 12 Nexus with a bunker rush. It can also defend any aggression strategies that Protoss might want to do. Besides the ultimate cheese, the 99 gates. But yeah, as we can see, Olm is about to expand. Dreamer is expanding at 23 supply, which is the current most standard build. It used to be 28 Nexus, now it's 23. Storg has made it work after Mini invented 25 Nexus. 23 Nexus is even considered even better. It's an observer rush. You get a very early robo, you get an observer in the Terran's main, and you for the entirety of the game, you watch what the Terran is doing and respond accordingly. So we can see Vulture sent out from Olm, and it's gonna get caught by Dreamer. And that's why you wanna keep your at least a single goon at your main, because if Vulture slips by, it can cause a bit of damage that you might not want to suffer as a Protoss. Dreamer sends a single goon to pressure. It's rather used not for pressure, but as long as the tank is not out, you can certainly hit the bunker, cause some lost mining time and minerals. But usually the goon is gonna stand over here, not pressuring anything, just to see when the Terran wants to move out, so Protoss has a bit more time to respond to whatever Terran wants to do. So Dreamer is getting a shuttle. It's not very standard, but Dreamer likes his breathers.
Yeah.
And so He's gonna deviate from the standard build, and he's gonna even dive to get a single tank.
That was not very good.
For and that was not very good. You were right about that. He lost 3 goons for a single tank. He thought he would get 2, but he got a single one. It's not the end of the world, but certainly worse than not losing the goons. He overextended and he paid that price for it. One knows that Dreamer likes shuttles by the looks of it because he's getting missile turrets all over his base. Yeah. You wouldn't usually see that many turrets made. It looks like Home knows what Dreamer is capable of and what he is likely to do. So he's responding accordingly, and Dreamer only now getting his additional 2 gates. Only now I have realized how risky the play was. Because you only get an observer not even into his base. You get you get close to his base, but if the Terran pushes you with 3 or 5 tanks, you're dead. There's no coming back from that. And 3 or 5 tank pushes have seen a spike in popularity in the last year or so. So Dreamer took a risk. He didn't get punished for it, but you never know when you would. Because he even threw away the 3 goons, and he only had the production of a single gate. So that means that if Om knew about it, he would have been able to push with 4 Marines and 1 or 2 tanks and gotten away with it. He probably would have caused the Protoss to pull all of his probes to the main until his army is back together. But luckily for Dreamer, it wasn't the case, and he's able to take a reasonably quick third. This is a bit slower than you would usually see a third being taken, but it's still good enough because you got Reaver tech and you got 2 Reavers actually. Reavers are very useful not only for attacking purposes, but to prevent the turret from moving out or taking his third base. It's gonna be a pain in the butt to move your army into 2 Reavers on the high ground. They're gonna trade as good as siege tanks placed on a choke. So similarly to the last game, Om is getting a third base in his main, and he's also getting a dropship this time actually, and he's getting 4 factories, which is a bit more than we saw last game, but it's still the standard. He's getting the upgrades, and that's all that matters. It's not going to be an all-in push if you're still continuing to upgrade. He's getting a single tank and 2 vultures into his dropship, and you're gonna see if it finds any damage. Protoss is getting photon cannons early enough for the vultures not to be an issue, but the tanks may very well be. He's gonna... Okay, he spotted the dropship. He knows what's up, and he's gonna be able to pick off the dropship before it unloads anything. That is brilliant play from Dreamer, and a bit of a slip up from Om. He moved the dropship into a probe and didn't realize that, and paid the price of a single dropship, 1 siege tank, and 2 vultures. As he knows that the Protoss's army is big enough to trade an entire army. He's not gonna land his third yet. He's gonna wait. He's gonna wait for additional army to finish building, and maybe then he's gonna be able to try and set up his third location. And Dreamer is taking a very fourth nexus. It's gonna be very close to the base of Om, and it's gonna be a somewhat risky play. I don't believe Om is gonna expect it, and Dreamer certainly knows the risk that he's taking. He might wanna expand away, which is better for Protoss. If you expand away from the Terran, it takes less time for Terran to move his army towards your base, and it gives you additional time to reinforce your army, which is usually the strategy that most people are gonna go for. And as we can see, Dreamer is having what is called a gateway explosion, and he is taking into arbiters. The arbiters are gonna be up in a minute or so, maybe 2. I do not know what the exact timer of, well, a build time of an arbiter is. I would assume it's around 90 seconds. And we can see that Dreamer is moving into the third of Om. I would have liked to see a bit of a high ground presence on top of the ramps with siege tanks from Om. It probably would have prevented this third from being destroyed. But Om looks like he only has a single chance now. His third is gonna be very late, and unless he does anything significant with his army right now, I don't think he can come back. And he knows that. He's unsieging, the 2-1 upgrades are finished, and behind this push he's gonna be taking a third to have any kind of a future plan for this game. But he needs to get damage, and he needs to get damage now. So he's moving across the map. He's gonna try to get a good trade with his army.
He's double expanding here.
Yeah, you can see the disparity of Om. He is facing a 4-base Protoss, being on 2 bases himself. And even if the Protoss loses this army, which he will, he's gonna be able to remake it quite quickly. And I believe Dreamer overstayed for a bit. It's a good thing that he's forcing the army back, because I believe Om's army, if Om sacrificed this base and moved into Dreamer's natural, he would have probably gotten away with taking his natural and third.
Do you think it's too late to go now to the 4th base of Dreamer?
Yeah. I believe that Om doesn't even know about the 4th base.
Yeah, I bet you're right.
Because if he did, I would assume that he would go and try to take it out right the second. Maybe not this second, because the reinforcements of Dreamer and his 11 gateways are coming here, and they are forcing Om to siege up. It does not result in a trade, because Dreamer's not stupid. He's not gonna sacrifice his entire army into several siege tanks, and he chose to get some Dark Templars to probably waste some scans and get some value, get some vision as well. Usually when I get DTs, they never pay off, unless I get them in a PvP as a means of cheese, but usually you're not gonna be getting that much value from Dark Templars. It's a bit too expensive for a troop that can be easily countered by a scan and a couple of vultures, but it certainly has a use. And looks like Dreamer is using Dark Templars to get vision of the map. And he's gonna come and find the fourth base of Fawn. He knows he double expanded. He's getting some kills on SCV, but it's not gonna be significant because a single Goliath should be able to clear the DT up. Yeah, we can see it was the case. And Olm has sufficiently gotten his strength back after suffering a loss of a third base. The double expand did certainly help Olm to get back into the game, and as we are gonna possibly see here, Protoss army loses to an equal army turn army. Well, equal supply, not equal army. But yeah, Olm is looking for blood now. He's trying to find a fight. Possibly because he got 3-2 upgrades finished. He's getting additional supply depots so he can macro more. He's floating a bit of minerals, which is not ideal. And we can see an attempted fight with Protoss. He knows that the power of On's army is a bit too strong, so he's not gonna want to engage.
He's gonna lose his whole army though because he just trapped him
And
in
he's
a
gonna
little
lose
corner.
his entire army, yeah. And unless he gets the command center, I believe that Dreamer made a big mistake. He gets the command center. That's the least you'd want. The gateway count hasn't expanded yet, as Dreamer is still on 4 bases and about to mine. Oh, he's on 5 now, but he's about to mine out on 2 of them. Actually, 3 of them. But the third base is gonna have minerals for at least 3 more minutes. I believe. No, it's 500 minerals. It's gonna have minerals, well, present there for additional 5 minutes or so. And you can see an engage and beautiful storms from Dreamer. Those are the storms you were looking for after losing that entire army at the 4th. And as he saw that the army has moved, he's trying to get the most value out of the army that was trapped. He finds himself trapped again, but it's retrieved most of it away, so it's good for Dreamer. And Olm wants to sneak expand right now.
Looks like he has 2 set up. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, never mind. He possibly wants to sneak an additional expand. Oh, never mind. I thought he would try to expand at 7 o'clock. Well, 8 o'clock actually. But yeah, he doesn't.
Oh, nice pro catch at the top.
Yeah, the probes are certainly worthwhile. A worthwhile target to trade vultures for. But we can see that if Dreamer does not force onto mine out, and it's not going to be the case if he does not find the expansions quick enough. then Dreamer is gonna pay the price for it. And as his initial fourth base was picked off, which showcases the danger of picking a base that's so forward into the Terran's main. And Dreamer is gonna have to attack into it himself now that takes it for his own economy purposes. And it's gonna be even worse once the army moves into his natural. Dreamer, I believe, unless... Okay, some of the tanks are set up on the high ground, some are not. So the trades are gonna be questionable. I'm not sure how it's gonna play out, but the lack of vultures makes me think that
Yeah.
that the
Enough
tanks are
vultures.
gonna get cleaned up.
Yeah. They needed a buffer there.
Yeah. Vultures are very good for buffering. They tank a lot of damage since they take a bit less damage from Dragoon shots than
Great
tanks.
Storm.
Tanks, and also a Great Storm. I thought it would be the end for Dreamer, but
Yeah. That was a good
Olm
place
didn't
to
have.
set up
Yeah,
because you couldn't get the fifth base, the third base, and natural, and the main can't really just send anything else to help because it was really good spot that Dreamer really needed to hold, but he cleaned it up.
yeah, that's for sure. And you can see that Olm is trying to secure his, by the looks of it, fourth base. His hidden main was found and I believe cancelled. So I would want to see a bit more siege tank presence near the mines because, well, if you do not have at least a single siege tank covering the mines, they are so easy to clean up with an observer and several goons. But Dreamer does not shine in having enough observers. He's face checking the entire map without any observers. He went he went in between two fields of mine.
Yeah.
That was either a big field of mines that was already cleaned up by goons going through the minefield, or it was a very unlucky mine placement. Both can be an option. But as we can see, Dreamer is gonna want to expand a bit more as his second and third base are mining out. He would also... Okay, I don't think he needs that much space for additional gateways. Because on 50 probes you're not gonna be able to produce out of more than 12 anyways, unless you save up a massive bank, as I talked about the last game, when you max out and instead of trading you go for additional gateway count. We can see a small recall as the natural of the turns.
Yeah, I was actually just about to ask about if that was an option now, like a recall would be a good idea.
Recalls are certainly a very beneficial tool of Protoss, but by the looks of it, I don't think Dreamer likes them that much because he... until now, I've only seen Stasis being cast from Dreamer. Some Protosses even get recall first and bombard turns bases with recalls.
Yeah.
But Dreamer looks like a very passive type of player. He waits for a big army, he tries to engage as good as he can, and then he trades. But recall is certainly an option. He tried to recall his fifth base that turns. But he, I believe, I don't know if it was a recall, probably a recall, but he finds himself in the Terran's fourth base, and I don't see enough vultures being forced, but the zealots are not targeting the right units, so it's gonna get cleaned up. So some harassment being done, and an entire SCV line being wiped. Certainly good for Dreamer, because Olm is gonna have to rebuild the SCVs now, and he's doing that very slowly. You can do that from your all of your CCs and rally them to a single base. But okay, Olm is trying to do that right now, because the main and the natural. But after losing that many SCVs, he might want to punish the Protoss for wasting that much army supply on harassment. And we can see that he gets to a critical location of the Protoss untouched, unspotted. A single stasis goes down and it catches only a single tank. The second one catches way more, so it pays. I guess it pays for the sloppy stasis that was the first one. But after he casts the stasis, you need to engage. But Dreamer has other plans. He knows he cannot win a straight-on fight against Olm, and he's probably willing to sacrifice his fourth base, mineral only, to get momentum on the map and trying to cancel the additional base of Olm. And you can see that Olm is gonna... I'm not sure if Olm is even gonna hold. That is a big army, and the mines have been just cleared. If I was Olm, I would just move into the Protoss main, but he does not know that it lacks army power over there. He might not even take a chance before it's over, because Protoss has gotten up to the production of the Terran, and it's a very rough time for the Protoss. Olm is trying to do something now, but I believe it may be too late, and a GG is called. I believe Olm had a chance in this game. Actually, he had many chances to win the game. And the last one wasn't even that long ago. It was like 2 minutes ago, once the Protoss moved up to the fifth base of the Terran. But Olm didn't realize that moving into the base of Protoss was a possibility, and he didn't take the chance, hence he lost the game. So that's it for the game too, and we can see a trend of Olm not keeping up with the resources. Usually resources are gonna suffer for the turn because Protoss have a way easier time expanding with it not requiring to have a probe active. You can just warp a building up, or warp a building in. I'm sorry, but yeah, that's gonna be game 3 of Olm versus Dreamer.
Alright, so we have Olm in the 6 o'clock position, and then Dreamer in the 2 o'clock position.
Yeah, from those past games, what do you think about the map?
So the map, well, I think the better expansion for would be, because he has been trying to take that expansion where it's mineral only, but I think he should really take that fourth base that he's always been looking to take, because it seemed to be easier to hold, and I don't really have anything about the map actually.
Yeah. I certainly think that third gas would benefit Om as well, and it might be easier to hold as well. And though for this game, you're gonna see an additional game with the Byron in the main. It still can be 12 Nexus, but it's not gonna be. As Gateway is warping in.
Is Forge ever a like? Can you ever go like Forge first versus something? Is that ever an option?
Okay. Forge first is only an option if you see that the Terran has chucked down two barracks in the middle of the map. That's the only time you would want a Forge for cannons in a PvT. As mech is stupidly good against cannons.
Yeah.
And you might be able to counter rush Terran as well, yeah, if the map is suitable for it. But the only map I found it's actually working on is the Eclipse that was pre-patched in the last season, because you could place 3 pilots in the back of the main mineral line and you wouldn't be able to respawn to that, because the mineral line was notoriously difficult to glitch workers through. But that's about it for the forge usage. You still want a forge for weapon upgrades. Armor upgrades do close to nothing in the PvT. We can see that Om is going for a factory, and a very safe factory with Marines at the same time. Actually, I believe he started the factory before he started his first Marine, so I take it back. And the Zealot is on the way there, which is gonna cause some problems because the Zealot, I believe it was a 14 Zealot. A Zealot after the core. You skip a probe to get a single Zealot there, but it is a natural counter to skipping Marines. But you would actually want to target Marines instead, because a Vulture is gonna be present anytime, and if you do not find damage, then your Zealot is going to go to waste. And 3 Marines are infinitely better at fighting Zealots than 2. So a Zealot is gonna get picked off. And the Dragoon pressure is present. Olm is walling off the ramp with a couple of SCVs and a couple of Marines. One Dragoon is not going to be able to break it, but 2 or 3 might. So Dreamer goes for the old standard strategy, which looks to be 28 Nexus. It is the OG build from mid 2000 to 2010. I believe we did as far back as 2003, once Lost Temple was replaced with Python. But even on Lost Temple, I believe this could have been a build. I was 1 year old back then, so I cannot nor confirm nor deny. So I cannot give you any insight from back in the days. So the pressure is there, and Om was forced to pull a lot of SCVs. A lot of SCVs. It caused a lot of lost mining time. He probably lost around 200 minerals by doing that. But he's gonna be able to secure his natural base by the looks of it. 2 tanks are still kinda weak against, let's say, 5 goons, I believe. You would lose both of the tanks and possibly would have to micro against the remaining goons that didn't die. But three tanks are way stronger. Dreamer kind of lost an opportunity to trade against a Terran that was low on army. And Olm is very greedy. Oh, never mind. He probably accidentally canceled the bunker, or he misplaced it. So he's replacing it now, and the siege mode's done. So the pressure is not going to be as good. And we see that it's way more standard now, with no shells being made before the third. It's not gonna be a micro game, with the Reavers doing the decisive work. The observers are a bit late on the 28 Nexus compared to 23 Nexus. As you can see, turrets have already finished in the main. But if you went for a 23 Nexus, your observer would already be in the main base before the turrets have finished. So that's a con of going for additional army at the early part of the game. And this Nexus was very, very optimal. It was made out of 3 gateway production, so nothing would be able to run it over. And he had observers coming up soon. He's gonna probably want to go for Stargate and a Templar Archives for Arbiters. Or yeah, there's a Stargate, and then we're gonna see a Templar Archives put up straight after. And we possibly might see a Forge soon, because his third is up, and he probably wouldn't want to lose that many probes to Vulture Harass, which is very, very... which is possible for the turn to do. We can see that the turn is probably gonna get a third factory before he's gonna get his third. We see that he has a single armory up and running. We do not see any starports, which might indicate that he is going for an all-in attack. And the additional factory support, my thought. He might get five factories, yeah. There are 5 factories. He's not gonna have a future of this, which fails. Because in order to get additional upgrades, you're gonna want a science facility, and you do not have sufficient money to afford a science facility. So now it's only gonna be a game of if Dreamer responds accordingly, and he has an observer put on top of the factories, so he knows what's up. He knows that he's gonna be in big trouble if he does not make sufficient army. If he gets too greedy and makes too little, tries to scrape by with 4 gateways. 4 gateways are not good enough. you are gonna want Zealot Speed, which is almost finished, and you're gonna want an Arbiter without any upgrades, because 6 Factory cannot afford to get a Science Vessel, which is gonna be weak against Arbiters, because you do not have unlimited scans. And as you can see, after a single rally, I believe, the turn is gonna move out, because his +1 is gonna be finished, and it's gonna finish in around
I think this is
10
actually a
seconds.
good position for a Dreamer. Wouldn't you say? Because like once he gets the Arbiter, together, I think those would be considering the limited scans that he has.
Yeah, but the Arbiter is gonna have to wait a few more minutes. Oh, this is terrible lag. Give me a second, I'm gonna turn the latency. Yeah, at the climax of the battle, we suffer lag, but that's the end of the world. Hopefully, it's gonna finish lagging soon, because we are currently playing on as low as 0.125 speed, probably. But yeah, +1 weapons is done, and the turn is gonna move out. Luckily for Dreamer,
Oh,
he had a... Oh, that's a nice volley. He had an observer planted on top of the factories. He knew what's up, and he knew how to respond. He knew that he was in big trouble if he didn't get a fast Arbiter and Zealot legs, because you would usually get Zealot legs way later than this, and you wouldn't have as many Zealots either. But as you can see, Alm is gonna struggle his way up until he hits the ramp, and it's gonna be an attempt to push up the high ground. But if he fails, I believe it's gonna be game over for Alm. And as we can see, it's gonna be an engage, and the Arbiter is already finished.
yeah. There's only 2
It's
scans
gonna burn
left.
some scans. Yeah. And the army does not look that great from Om either.
Yeah.
And we see a GG from Om. And that's what happens to you if you try to cheese and your cheese gets scouted. You do not prevent the vision sufficiently. You put 2 missile turrets next to your factories, but you didn't put a crucial one above the factories. And an observer got in and saw 6 factories.
Alright.
And Dreamer is the winner.
Yep.
With the 3-0 score.
Alright. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Gomatez, for joining us too. See you guys next time.
Thank you for the opportunity to guess. See you guys.